If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout. Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode where we find out what writers are writing, why they're writing what they're writing, and how what they're writing can help you to write what you need to write. Did you get all that? Because that's a lot of writes. All right. I am here with someone who reads people their rights. How's that for a different right? Well, I have a guest in the studio who has drove in from New Hampshire, and he was a Boston police officer and a Massachusetts state trooper for over 32 years. His name is Richard Chase, and we're going to talk to him today about a memoir he wrote, which I am in the throes of reading right now because it is a ride-along with him for his entire career. So I want to welcome Richard Chase into the studio, and we are going to just talk about so many things today because this man has traded in his badge for a pen because he is retired now and he's peacefully living in New Hampshire. But he's here to talk about his book. So welcome, Richard Chase.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's quite the honor to be with you.
Oh, this is amazing. His book right here, as you can see, is called I Promise to Come Home. And, you know, I found out about your book, and of course I have an obsession with, you know, I should have been a police officer. I mean, I've had people tell me I should have went into forensics, but I didn't find out about it till my 40s, and I guess they don't hire you after the age of 35 or something.
35, yeah.
But you can be president after the age of 35. You just, I don't know, can't work for the FBI.
Yeah.
But, you know, you've had a long career in law enforcement,
Yeah.
which was not necessarily your dream to be a police officer.
No, it wasn't. I was a young kid and slugging away at a $3.75 an hour at a manufacturing job, and my father tapped me on the shoulder with, you know, he says, "You got to get a job with a pension." So I said, you know, he was right.
I wish someone told me that.
I know.
Really? We teach kids stuff in high school that doesn't help them in the long run.
Well, Social Security isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
You need to either put away a 401k or get a pension. So I opted for the pension, and I didn't really want to be a police officer or a fireman per se, but, you know, I started taking the civil service tests, and I got lucky on the police test, and I got a 99. And
yeah, because you even went to maybe be a postman. Or,
I went mailman, letter carrier, anything.
Yeah.
I had 2 kids at the time when I was 19.
Yeah, right in the very beginning of the way you've written your memoir, and for people looking to write their memoirs, it's just interesting how, you know, you put us right into your life story right away and very quickly, just giving us the background of where you came from, your family, and then boom, you're 19.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, boom, right?
Yeah.
So here I am, you know, 19 with 2 kids, and I have to make some kind of a living. So I got a 99 on the police score, and I'm like, okay.
So, you know, and I never like to give away the whole story. So, I mean, I'm glad I haven't finished the book because I can't give it away yet. I will be finishing the book for sure because I'm loving the ride along. When you were writing this, did you write down like different events you knew you needed to talk about? Like, did you outline it first, or did you just start writing it?
So I have, unfortunately, what they call an elephant's memory, and I can total recall almost everything. So I didn't write much down.
Wow, and your total recall in some of those scenes are like so. I mean, I'm right there in the action. He has written this scene, and I'm going to go into the car thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where he's driving down the road and he has to like make a very fast turn.
Oh, yeah.
And you describe that.
Yeah.
I mean, flip the car into, you know, reverse really fast. And I mean, I'm right there and I can see your car going forward and then boom, around. And I'm thinking, how did you write all the details to that? Because I mean, you're really teaching me how to do it.
It's just it took me 3 years to write this book. The stories will come out, but the editing, when you self-edit,
yeah,
that's the real hard part, when you have to go through and make sure everything's worded correctly. So
right.
yeah, that story was fantastic,
yeah.
because it was taught to be on one quiet night at like 2 or 3 in the morning by an instructor how to flip a car around. So in the old cruisers, they were Crown Victorias. They had the old emergency brakes. I don't know if you remember the left emergency brake where you pressed on it. Well, they used to click, 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 click. Well, that would lock it in. Well, on the cruisers, they didn't click. So what that did was, at about 35, 40 miles an hour, if you hit that, it would lock the rear wheels. You'd spin the steering wheel, and it would spin you around on a dime.
Yeah.
And it took pure, you know what, to do it. And I was on the middle of Center Street.
Because you're not going 10, 20
no,
miles an hour.
No, but there's cars either side. There's people all over. But one of our brother troopers was screaming, "Get me a backup! Get me a backup! I got a guy with a gun." So we got to get there, right? So luckily my partner next to me knew it was a walking street map. He says, "Richie, turn around, turn around." So plan A, put that into accident. Thank God I didn't hit anybody. We turned around, and it was funny. We turned around and got there and backed them up and made the big arrests and everything. We never talked about that again, me and my partner, about turning the car around or anything, because it was just like, oh well.
And you really show the brotherhood. You know, I mean, and it's you know, everyone knows the brotherhood of police are really tight, but it's like, you know, officer down or officer needs help. I mean, boom, everyone's dropping everything they do and they go. And I think it was like 2 or 3 scenes that I've seen that.
Yeah,
so.
we were taught that at an early age. I remember when I was first on the job, there was an incident in Charles Street Circle. So someone called for a backup. Well, one car showed up, then I heard another car showing up, and I'm coming to back them up. Okay, we're all set. Well, okay, I veered off. I didn't go because they were all set. Well, later that night, I got yelled at by one of the senior officers.
Because you didn't go?
Because you didn't go. I said, well, you were all set. He said, I don't care about. And he's giving me a piece of his mind. So I learned then and there, you go. Because you know what can hit the fan a second time. You know what I mean? So
I have to point out, like, your voice comes through so authentically in the story. And I think that is just amazing, because a lot of people who write memoirs sometimes, you know, in the first drafts, you know, they're kind of doing a narration of their life, but you are authentically, like, reading that, I'm having a conversation with you. I can hear your voice, I can hear your tone, and you bring in the Boston accent really well, because you'll actually spell it out for park the car or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Boston.
Well, I grew up in Charlestown, so I do have the Boston accent, but yeah, that was one of the biggest compliments I got from people. They said when they were reading the book, they felt like they were with me writing, and that was a real compliment. You know, you work on that as a writer, and you know, as you're a writer too, it's hard to get that. When you finally get that, you don't know you have it until someone else acknowledges it, and then that was validation.
No, 100%. Because as I'm reading it, I'm right along with you, and I almost feel like when I have a question, I could ask you, and you're telling me in the next sentence.
Yeah,
so you're answering it very quickly.
Yeah,
because I'm like, you know, well, where are we going, or what officer's in trouble, or you know, what does this code mean, you know, and you tell us within the next sentence or two. So I feel like, again, you know, you're right there, and that's what you want to do, is bring the audience into the story, whether it's a fictional story or a non-fictional story. Right. I wish it was a fictional story.
Yeah, that's the sad part. It's all real, and it's all real. It's all real, and it's to use the quote, it's unvarnished. It's just my voice that comes through, and I'm an honest guy, and I tell it like it is. Like I tell people before, I'm not the hero in every story. Yeah. If I was the hero in every story, no one wants to read that. That's just inauthentic.
No, but you are the hero telling your story. You know, it is your story, and the fact that you promised to come home and you did. You know what I mean? I want to talk about the title.
Yeah, that was the
Did you know right away that was going to be the title of your book?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, okay. I did, because it just stuck with me for years, that promise that I made to her, and I said, if I ever write a book, that's going to.
Yeah,
that was
and
it.
So look at that. I like that. If I ever write a book, so that seed was planted years ago.
It was.
And I'm going to share that with the audience, as you do say, like, as you're applying to be a police officer, they intensely interviewed your wife.
Oh yeah, they absolutely scared the hell out of her.
Are you okay with your husband being a police officer?
They scared the hell out of her, and they were just, the guy was, and rightfully so, by the way, because they don't want to invest large sums of money in this kid. He gets 3 weeks into the academy and he quits.
Do they still do that today?
Oh yeah,
they do.
Oh,
okay,
yeah. They don't talk about it as much, but there's a lot of vetting that goes on with police officers' wives. They interview neighbors. They go everywhere.
Good. They should.
They want to know who they're getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my poor wife's there getting grilled, you know, and I'm sitting there. I want this job.
If I was your wife, I'd be like, I don't know, because any night my door could ring and they could say he didn't make it tonight.
She grew up with a father who was a police officer, so she knew that all the pitfalls in the job. She knew. So, anyways, I said, as she's being interviewed, I said, Karen, what if I, you know me, what if I promise to come home? She says, she's hemming and hawing. I says, Karen, I promise to come home. And she knew it, and she went along with it.
Yeah.
Because it was not a I don't say anything just to say it for sensationalism. I meant it.
Yeah.
I did everything I could to go home. So this is little stuff that you do. You're going up to a motor vehicle stop, and you don't walk up there laissez-faire. You go up there as if the person has a gun.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's that's how I treated every stop and everything I ever did on the job.
That's how I treat.
But that's how I wanted to go.
I drop my daughter off at school in the morning, and I'm looking at the roof for snipers. I'm trying to see if anyone looks suspicious in the parking lot. And I say to the school officer, I'm like, how long do you scope the place out in the morning? What time do you get here? And sometimes they look at me like, well, not as much as I think you want me to.
About 2017, they started shooting cops for no reason. And every time I gassed up my cruiser, you should have seen me. I was paranoid.
Yeah. You
get out of your car and you're looking left and right, and it was awful. It's just awful.
Bulletproof vest?
I never wore one.
Really?
I never wore one.
Because that was one question I wanted to ask you. Because I'm like, all right, I know what he's dressed as, but you didn't mention putting it on. So
there was 2 troopers that I knew that got killed with bullets, obviously, and they both had a vest on. One got shot right in the midsection underneath, and the other one got shot in his neck. So I hate to say it, but if it's your time, it's your time. And they were so uncomfortable. For 32 years wearing a vest, they are so uncomfortable.
They are very uncomfortable.
And they smell.
Yeah. I mean, I have a friend who first night of duty got shot, bulletproof vest on, and died.
Wow. Yeah, that's it.
I keep saying I'm going to write her story. I've done some of it, but boy.
I hear them all the time. I just never worked.
Yeah.
But you know what I did? I was smart enough to carry it in the cruiser. So when things went down, like the Boston Marathon Watertown thing.
All right, so let's get into this.
Well, when that went down,
he was an officer during this Boston Marathon shooting, and when the suspects, right, we'll call them. I mean, we knew they were guilty, but the suspects were in Watertown. You were there.
Yeah, I was there.
That was a shootout.
That was on scene at the shootout. So
we watched that live on television.
Well, the sad part is, as I'm living it, my poor wife is at home, and they're breaking on the TV. And she knew I was down in the Boston area because I was a lieutenant and I was in command of a bunch of guys down there and guarding different facilities. When that broke in, she says, he's there. And she just knew in her heart, because that's the type of guy I was. When something's, I'm going. That's my oath. That's my, you know what I mean?
My daughter was there.
Oh, really?
She was there with my brother and sister-in-law and the kids, and they were right where the mailbox got blew up. They were right there, but one of the kids had to go to the bathroom. So they went over to the Starbucks. And as they're trying to get into the bathroom, they hear the explosion. They feel the explosion.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, my daughter, I think she was 9 or 10 maybe at the time. And she just had all the, Army, Air Force, everybody who was in there rushing her through the malls and all this stuff and going down these little side things. She was scarred for sure.
Yeah.
And we got a text about maybe 15 minutes after it happened from my brother-in-law that just said, just want you to know we're okay. Let me tell you, my hair is still standing up.
Yeah, it gets to you.
And I'm like, what does that mean? Why would he send us this text? So, of course, right away, I'm Googling Boston Marathon, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. Yeah. And I looked at my husband, and I go, you go get her right now. Yeah. And they ended up running into a woman on the street who happened to be the mayor's secretary, randomly. Yep. And they walked to her house. And then from her house, they were able to charge the phones. And then they walked 2 hours to some hotel outside of Boston or something where my husband met them and picked them up.
I remember the cell phones crashed. Do you remember
the cell phone? I mean, it was
everything crashed.
There was no communication.
Millions of people were trying to get in.
And I'm watching it live on TV. It was awful. And then that Watertown shooting, when that was going on, I mean, I remember thinking about these cops, please, Lord, keep them safe. But I mean, you don't know. I mean, how do you deal with that?
So it's hard to deal with right now after the fact. But
you're living in the moment, so
when you're living in the moment, the call came in that they have the Mercedes-Benz in Watertown has it, and Watertown's in pursuit. Well, we're on Memorial Drive, and there's a bunch of cruisers on Starrow Drive, and we start racing there, and it's chaos like you wouldn't believe. And I'm trying to get my vest on because I'm not wearing a vest, so I can put it over my shirt at 100 miles an hour with one hand on the steering wheel, and now I got the knee on the steering wheel, and I'm putting the vest on, and it's incredible, right? So anyways, we're pulling up near the scene in Watertown, and I hear they have them at Dexter Avenue. They're on Dexter Avenue in pursuit. Then shots fired. They're throwing bombs at us. It was intense to listen to it over the radio. As a matter of fact, if anyone wants to find it, it's still on the archives on YouTube. And my cruiser is 6.
Do you put a link to that in your book?
I don't think I do, but my cruiser is 697. If anyone, you can probably hear me on there. But so we're racing to Watertown. I have a little Garmin device on my dashboard, so I punched in Dexter Avenue on the Garmin device. So
the Garmin,
that's bringing
just
us back,
the way
right?
you bring us right into the time frame. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because
Right.
you're naming,
Right.
Whether it's the Crown Victoria or the Garmin, and this is what when people are writing memoirs, sometimes they forget. They need those details.
That's it. You need the details.
You need the details.
So it's not a Garmin, by the way. It's a Garmin.
Garmin.
So I punched in the Garmin.
ah.
Right. I punched in Dexter Avenue on the Garmin, right? And then I looked up and it said, "You have arrived." I was like, I was right there. I didn't know I was there. So I pulled up, and the bombs and the bullets were crazy. I pulled up, jumped out of the cruiser, and I ran in. And as I'm running in, I had that feeling that I'm not going home. Mm-hmm. So I don't tell the story that much, Angela. I don't tell it because it causes me a lot of PTSD.
Anxiety, yeah.
Well, I thought I was going to die because my brain is saying, don't go in there. But my oath says I have to go. So I went to protect brother officers and, you know what I mean, to do my job. Try to get these little SOBs. That was my thing. So luckily for me, when I charged in there, I recognized that, first off, I had to get my eyes used to the light because it was dark. Mm. And then the flashes were unbelievable. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I knew that most of the people there were cops, but they were undercover. So who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy?
Right.
This is going to stop popping people. I have to find a target.
Oh.
So by the time I figured out the target, okay, a Watertown cop comes running at me and he says, he's going that way. Now I'm watching the Mercedes-Benz circling, driven by the younger Saneev brother. He ran over his brother. I swear he did it on purpose. And everyone that was there said
the brother was shot, right?
He was shot and died. Yeah, but the other kid
yeah.
ran him over.
Yeah.
I think he did. The Watertown cop comes running over to me, and I had a bead on him. I didn't know. And then I recognized the badge, and I says, and he goes, he went that way. I said, who went that way? No, I know who went that way.
And he wants you to go that way.
Well, I wasn't processing it.
Was he going that way?
He had no cruiser. I figured out why he's telling me. My cruiser was right there. Jumped in my cruiser. I took a right. Whoom, there goes the Mercedes right in front of me. So I start to pull out, and I'm ready to get behind this kid, right? And I'm going to die because I'm going to shoot it out with him. This is my mentality now. I know I'm going to get in a shootout with them, and I'm going to kill him. And I'm going to take bullets. As I'm taking them, I'm going to be killing him. So I was cut off by a Boston Cruiser, unmarked, and another Boston Cruiser, unmarked. 2 gang unit cars. And I was third in line to the top of the hill where the kid was, and he bailed out before we got to him. It was pitch black. He shut his headlights off. So, yeah, that's where the trauma is. So
I'm just going to tell the audience that in studio is your wife. My eyes are going over to her. She doesn't want to be on camera, but my heart just wants to go hug her. And, as I'm reading the book, I want to say to her, how did you feel reading these stories? I know you probably came home and told her some. I don't know how many details you come home and tell and share. But, even hearing you say, I wasn't going to go home that night.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's tough because
my gut hurts hearing
it's
that
tough because that caused me the PTSD, and I don't tell the story that often because it bothers me. I tear up when I tell it, but yeah, it's just what you have to do. It's your oath. You know what I mean? I always charged in when the bullets were flying. I always went because and I want to protect brother officers, like you said. You got to back people up.
Well, and I mean, and God bless your wife, Karen, for 32 years of this.
Yeah,
and God, you're retired. You're retired.
I'm
now,
retired.
Right?
And
you're not doing any
no.
side gigs.
No. But I didn't tell her any of this stuff, by the way, because a lot of the stuff that I saw was traumatic to me. Mm. So why am I telling her?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're showing up, if there's a gang fight or shooting or a girl's been raped or, all of these different things that go on. I mean, you don't want to pass that trauma around to someone else.
So I'm going to go into something that you're about. It's called yWrite.
Yeah.
This is why I write, okay? This is why I wrote this book. Was because I sought counseling after when I was diagnosed with PTSD. It was a rough time. I was in the hospital for a while. I almost died because I wouldn't eat or drink for 7 days. I was malnourished because I didn't know what was happening to me. When they finally diagnosed me,
Process it. Yeah.
I was processing it. When they finally diagnosed me, I was so happy that I knew what was going on with me. So I talked to a psychologist. He says, "You've got to get your story out there." So how do you get your story out there? Well,
writing is so healing. It is so healing.
You know it is.
I mean, and whether it's, again, fictional, non-fictional memoirs, whether you're writing it for yourself or for other people, your book particularly, I feel like if someone wants to be a police officer, they should read that book.
But a lot
know
of
what you're getting into.
A lot of my reviews on Amazon say this is a must-read, and I say that to all the police officers that are listening.
Yeah.
Anyone that has a family as a police officer. Buy this book because this book tells you what's going to happen to them.
Yeah. Well,
from someone
if you're the wife, maybe don't read it.
Right. But from someone who's not going to embellish.
Yes.
He's not going to lie. He's not going to tell you listen. I tell you the goods and the bads, right? And I tell you, yeah.
Your experience. I mean, and for me, this is why I have the show of Why Write, is because if a writer is writing a story, I want the writer to share why they're writing it. Again, I'm using a lot of rights here, but because people want to write their story, and who better to learn from than someone who did it?
Right.
So if you're going to be a police officer, talk to a police officer. Find out what their life is about. Find out, what it is before you jump into it. If you want to write a memoir, talk to someone who's written a memoir. Find out how they've done it, what the steps were they take. I mean, I have people call me a lot of times and they're like, "Oh, I want to write a children's book." I go, "Okay, well, go watch these 5 or 6 episodes that I did, because you're going to listen to different authors about different processes, because there's no one way to do it."
No, it's not easy either.
I mean, and it's not easy. So, you're writing the memoir, you're putting it down on paper, handwriting. You're handwriting?
No, I did it on the computer.
You did type it all?
I did type it all.
Is that because you're used to typing reports and all that?
Listen, my wife, listen, everyone uses 10 fingers when they type, and I'm efficient. I only use 1. And she always got mad at me, right? But I was as fast
That's why it took you 3 years.
32 years, Angela. You wouldn't believe how fast I was with the 1 finger. But yeah, it was, to me, to get the story out there was and I wrote notes and everything. I did handwrite stuff, but it was cathartic for me to get the story out there.
So, obviously, I mean, we have to edit our own work to make sure we're using, writing it the way you want it to come across.
Right.
But you got to hire an editor.
Oh yes, I did hire an editor.
Let's talk about a little bit about the editing process, because how helpful or how much work did you have to do for rewrites?
So it wasn't a lot of work for rewrites. It was a lot of trying to get the editor to stop editing me in my voice. And when you're writing a memoir, remember, it's me who's telling the story, not you or some proper English.
Yeah.
So it has to be my voice. And that was one of the biggest compliments I had, especially from friends and family that wrote it. When they were reading the book, they could hear me talking. So that's what I wanted to get out there, my voice. And it's unvarnished. Listen, there's no gory stuff in the book. There's nothing gory, nothing that's going to hurt anyone. It's great for kids. I probably dropped the F-bomb a couple of times in the book, but only because it was in reference to what was said at a time.
It needed to be used.
Drop the effing gun or whatever I said to somebody. And so, yeah, there's nothing it's really a good book. So I'm very proud of it.
When I did April Rain, which is about a dirty cop.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Dirty cop. My editor was like, your cop is too polite. I was like, what? And she's like, you got to use the language that they speak in. And of course, I'm doing a fictional story, so trying to get, to make sure the language is authentic, I have to add a little bit of, it's not a lot of vulgarity in it, but, just a little bit of that tone.
You have to.
Whereas, if you're trying to, explain a situation where, somebody soiled their pants, you want to make sure you use the right words. You're not using,
Well, the editor tried to make this say poopy pants. And I don't say poopy pants.
You see a police officer putting the right, he had poopy pants.
That's not,
so you have to, do that. So after you had it edited, how'd you come up with your cover? Did you do your cover design? No, did you hire someone?
My genius wife designed the cover. So the cover was so well designed. I sent it off to my editor just to get her opinion, and she said it's too busy. It wasn't too busy. It was nice. So I said, okay, I'll hire a professional. Well, the professional I hired did this cover, and it's almost the same exact as what my wife did.
So she saw the vision of it.
She saw the vision. Hers had the 4 badges on there: my trooper, sergeant, lieutenant, and Metropolitan Police badge. This one just has the state police.
Right, but you have the badges inside.
They have them inside on the chapter things. That was a little thing the editor did. So it was a great process with the editor, but you got to find the correct editor.
Yeah, you got to find someone who here's your voice.
Here's your voice, and loves the story, by the way, because if they don't like the story, my editor loved the story, and she just couldn't put the book down, and she said, this is going to be awesome doing this, and we collaborated really well together.
It's a very visual book. I mean, I think it could be a movie. I'm just going to say, cinematography right there. I mean, there's so many visuals and just the authentic tone, and I say it again, of how you're talking in the book. Like, we're right there, just going right along with everything. And within your whole career, not just each little moment, but following your whole career and going from, small town to, Massachusetts State Trooper. I mean, there's a lot there.
And thank you for that, because that's what I wanted to get out there, that I'm authentic and it's real. And you're going to read it and you say, whoever reads the book is going to say, this guy's not embellishing anything. He's telling the truth. One of the greatest things that happened to me on my job, I'll tell you, it's a really quick story. Yeah. I was in court one day, and the judge said to the defense attorney, she says, sir, can I see you at sidebar? So they went up in sidebar. We've all seen the OJ trial, and we know what sidebars are, right? So he's up there talking to the defense attorney, and I didn't know what was going on. Well, about 10 minutes later, they not dismissed the case. The guy pled out. The defense attorney said to me, Trooper, can I talk to you? I says, what? He says, I want to tell you what the judge said about you. I says, oh, here we go. I said, what did he say? He said, you don't want to go to trial with this trooper. He says, I've had him at several trials, and he'll say stuff that will hurt his case. He doesn't care. He's going to tell the truth. If you ask him a question that hurts his case, he's not going to embellish the other way. He's going to tell the truth. He's so believable. So whatever this kid says, he said to this defense attorney, I'm going to believe him. That was one of the greatest defining moments in my career, because it validated I'm a good guy.
You are a good guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? Thank you for being a good guy. Thank you for being a good cop.
Yeah.
I mean, I took the role of writing about a bad cop because unfortunately I have seen that, but like there's bad priests, there's bad cops, there's bad teachers, there's good people too. And, and I, the good people need to write their memoirs. They need to write their memoirs.
Agreed.
Because the bad ones aren't going to write their memoirs, so therefore I have to write it in a fictional story to expose them.
Agreed.
That's what I'm doing.
Well, unfortunately, the 1% of 1% of the bad guys on the police department give 99.9% of us the bad reputation. Yeah. And we're not bad guys. We just want to go out there, and me especially, I just want to go out there and save people.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do, was help people. Our function on state police, primarily on the roads, is accidents.
Yeah.
And what are you doing when you go into an accident? You're going like a bat out of hell to try to save someone's life.
Yes.
And I saved many.
Yes.
Doing just that, So that was what I was proud of.
And you made a promise to your wife and a promise to your life.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a promise to your life that you'd come home. So, I mean, kudos, great title. Where can people get this book? Because they got to get the book. They got to read it. Okay,
so the book is available on Amazon. So I have it on Amazon right now, and I also applied to Barnes & Noble, and Barnes & Noble accepted the book. So I'm on Barnes & Noble if you want to buy the book there, too.
Nice.
So it's on 2 spots, and it's doing very well on Amazon. I've sold quite a few copies, and the reviews are fantastic.
And how can people get in touch with you?
So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'm on Facebook under Richard Chase Author.
Okay.
And you can join my Facebook and you can follow me. That would be great. And
so you're Richard Chase Author. I'm author A.M. Grout.
Yeah.
Which, I had to use the A.M. because they say that men don't read crime thrillers written by women. Did you know that? I'm not a sexist, so I read that in a second. Well, so I read your book. Okay, Being in My Breast. Oh, yes, my new book, which I haven't
Being in My Breast. And this police officer, 32 years, cried several times during the book, and I'm not ashamed. It was awesome.
That's
Being in My breast.
Sweet. I know you just told me that when
awesome.
we made the appointment to come in, and then you sent me the text that you were reading and you're crying. I'm like, I made a police officer cry. I'm like, that makes me feel good.
Well, it's just I'm human, and I see the human element you put into it, and the story was so heartfelt and well written that it brought me in, and I loved it. So I knew you and I were going to bond anyways because we're both writers and we're both humans, by the way, and that's really an aspect.
No, and we like to share stories.
I like to share stories.
And we have the stories to share.
Well, that's it. There's 130 plus stories in this book.
I mean, that's why I say I have too many stories in me to take these with me.
Oh, it's
like Wayne Dyer had said one time, like, don't die with your stories inside you. And it's like, and your stories are your experience that shares with someone else, because either they resonate with your experience or they learn from your experience.
Yeah, there's no question.
I mean, that's why we write. That's why we have to share these stories.
I just want people to learn from this, by the way. I want people to get this book and and be a better police officer, or
just a better human.
A better human too.
A better human, and know to make a promise to someone, keep it, because that's the thing is there are people who make the oath and they can be a good police officer, but they may not have made the oath to be a good person.
No, I agree.
Well, and I always say, like, do you care what kind of person your surgeon is who's gonna save your life?
A little bit.
You just want to make sure they're a really good surgeon at that point. But it's like, oh wait, this is a pedophile.
Right.
It's like you want to be a good person, but you want to live up to your oath.
Right.
So there's that to be said.
I totally agree.
So. Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you after you finish reading April Rain, too.
Oh, yes, I can't wait.
And we might have to collaborate on another book.
Oh, yeah, that would be good, too. I know you're into the crime stuff, so yeah, but it's pretty, yeah. Okay.
I'm all about solving a crime. Give me an unsolved case, and I will come up with, 10, 15 scenarios for you.
Sounds good. Yep, we'll collaborate anything you want.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and everybody go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and buy it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you so much.
And thank you to his wife, Karen, who's off camera. And I want to thank you, the listening audience, for tuning in every week or every day, or maybe you're binge watching every show on YouTube. That's awesome. Because I'm enjoying talking to these writers, and I think that you're going to be learning something too. So this is the time in the program where I give you a writing prompt. And you know what? Today we've been talking about writing authentically from your own voice. So when the show is over, set your timer for 5 or 10 minutes. And you know what? Whether you want to pretend you have a journal or pretend that you're writing a letter to a friend, tell them about an experience that you had this week. Just share it like you're having a conversation. And a lot of times when you write it in a letter form to someone, you definitely get your authentic voice to them, because you may share exactly what happened in the exact language that you used. So work on using your authentic voice to share a story, and watch more episodes of yWrite, and we will see you next time. My name is Angela Grout, and you're watching yWrite. See ya.